Hi guys, and welcome to the first of a series of three basic ab workouts. What we're going to do today is look at some of the basics to get you through curl up, crunches, reverse curls, some U-sits and oblique curls, that kind of thing. The key thing really with this today is to try and hammer home the importance of correct technique on this. So please pay attention to the position of the pelvis as we work through these. To begin with, our start position for all of our ab work is going to be feet about hip width apart, in line with the knees in line with the hips, and then we're down into here. Now quite naturally your back is probably going to want to arch, so you can almost get your hand under there. This is what I was talking about with the pelvis. I want you to imagine that your pelvis is being pressed backwards and down, so it presses into the mat. You then relax it, press down, relax, and press down. If you imagine this was my hand here, at the moment my pelvis is tilted forward, we press back and it's into the floor. Now it's that little bit there that makes all the difference in terms of your ab work. So as we go through these next exercises, please try to remember to engage your pelvis all the way through. Okay, so off we go. First one we're going to look at is what we call a curl up. Now this is very different to a sort of what we call an old-fashioned sit-up. You curl up, you tilt your pelvis, hands across your chest or outside, whichever you prefer. This one's harder than this one. We breathe in and then we breathe out on the effort as you go up. When you're ready to breathe in, you come back down and then you breathe out. Now you notice that I'm focusing forward all the time rather than going all the way down to the floor. If you don't have a history of neck problems, no problem at all coming down to here and working through here. If you do have a history of neck problems, you may find that actually coming back to this position, big heavy weight, little lever, lots of aching and tension in here. So to avoid that, you keep your shoulders off the floor, you focus forward, and the movement just becomes a little bit shorter. Otherwise, you can come all the way down, all the way up. What you'll also notice as well is that each time you come down, the top part of your torso comes to rest, so it takes tension off your tummy a little bit. So actually maintaining this position does make you work that little bit harder. So what we've got here is a nice little curl up. The next exercise we're going to look at is really just for a demonstration purposes. You have to forgive the bad technique on this, but I just want to show you the difference between a curl up and a sit up. With a sit up you tend to engage a lot more muscles at the front of the leg over and above what you're doing in terms of your ab work. This is why you'll often find people having to lock their feet under benches, or they get somebody to sit on their feet, or they put some weights there. You can create the same sort of effect just by using your body as momentum. So I'm just going to shuffle to the end here to pop my feet against the wall, and what you'll get is with the sit up, you're all the way up here, all the way down again, all the way up and all the way down. And what you'll notice as I go up, if you're very observant, there's a little kind of nick in the back as we go up, and that basically is one of the main reasons why you don't want to be getting too involved in that exercise, because it does exploit any kind of weaknesses that you've got in your back, and it's not a particularly efficient way of working the tummy muscles. Moving on from there, we're going to look at the crunch next. Very similar, exactly the same start position, but very similar to your curl up, except knees are over the hips, ankles should be in line with the knees. Again, hands, chest or ears, whichever you prefer, and then pelvis tilts backwards and down, and we get a little movement forward. We come back, pelvis tilts backwards and down, and back. Now you can, if you wish, keep the pelvis down throughout, so you don't have to keep tilting it in between. The key thing is to make sure that it stays down as you come forward. So you breathe out on the effort, breathe in as you recover. Out on the effort, in as you recover. So there's your two basics that most people work with. On the reverse curl, you've got a couple of options on this one. We can either, again, everything's the same here, pelvis goes down. Again, we can either be on the floor or we can keep slightly tilted forward. But your two options are really based around the knees. You can either draw your knees in towards your chest. So as you tilt your pelvis backwards and down, you just carry that movement through so that the knees come towards the chest. Or a harder version, instead of the load travelling this way, is for it to go up that way. So from here, we actually lift up and then back down. Lift up and then down. So your options are either backwards in this position or upwards and down. The upwards and down does tend to engage a little bit more the lower abs than it does the backward movement. But the key thing to try and get your head around with this stuff, guys, is that your abs never really work in isolation. We talk about focal points in sort of lower abs, upper abs, obliques or side of the abs, but the reality of it is they're all engaged at all points. It's just sometimes a little bit more emphasis on one particular muscle group over another. Now, talking of obliques, what we're going to look at in a moment is just something to bring in here and here. But before we do that, just want to have a look at one more in this position, which is what we call a U-sit. Basically, the knees are over the hips, ankles in line with the knees, everything's parallel again. Now, as we draw in the knees as if we were doing a reverse curl, we're actually going to do our basic curl up as well. So what we get is a little movement that works a little bit harder on both the lower and the upper abs. And we're breathing out as we come in as we come back. Out on the effort, in as we recover. Out on the effort, in as we recover. Okay, so you get the idea with that. Now, with the oblique curl, the key thing with this is the rotation of the movement comes from the torso, not from the elbow swinging from side to side. So if you can for me, try to make sure that we get the rotation from the torso. But again, the basics are still there. We tilt that pelvis back, hands to the outside, and then we breathe out as we rotate across and breathe in. Out as we rotate across and breathe in. So we tilt the pelvis, we rotate and breathe out. We tilt the pelvis, we rotate and we breathe out. Alternatively, we keep the pelvis down all the time. We just rotate and rotate, making sure that we're breathing out on the effort side. So the rotation is through the torso. Now, just to finish off on this little block, we're going to look at an extended version of that where we bring in the opposite elbow to opposite knee, but once more, it's all about making sure that that pelvis stays down and aligned for me. So, from here, I'm going to extend one leg. Now, the idea of extending only one leg on this is that it will allow the pelvis to be stabilised by this leg and the press down there. As this one comes in, we're going to bring the elbow to meet it. So, each point, you've only ever got one leg that's being extended. The lower back stays in full contact with the floor throughout. And we've got the rotation through the torso. Now, of course, in terms of a workout, there's absolutely nothing to stop you putting those sort of 6 exercises together to create a bit of a challenge in 5-10 minutes. Even sort of 3 sets, 10 repetitions of each of those will be enough to challenge most people. And the nice thing about it, as I say, it shouldn't take any more than about 10 minutes or so. So what I'll be aiming to do is sort of maybe tomorrow, day after, is put up another little ab workout. For those of you that have potentially got some long-standing challenges with your back or your neck, what we'll look at on the next one are what we call stabilisation exercises. So these are exercises that will challenge your abs, but they won't necessarily require that kind of flexion extension or the up and down movements that can sometimes aggravate pre-existing challenges for back. So next one will be all about stabilisation, and it'll be sort of variations on the plank and that sort of stuff. So hope you found some of that a little bit helpful, guys. I look forward to catching up with you tomorrow, which will be Friday. So enjoy your Thursday. Thanks for your time.